Hello, everyone. I'm sure you're shocked and you're like, oh, really? It's 4 o'clock or 4:15. Let's talk about leadership. So I have a few questions. Let me actually give me one quick second. I'm going to get the Instagram team engaged here. And so I wanted to have a conversation to talk to you guys a little bit about leadership. Let's get my Instagram on board.
I have questions.
All right, let's see. Hopefully I'm doing this right. Okay. All right. So while I am playing around with this, you can tell this is nothing I do on a regular basis, but it's something I want to do. Okay. So I've had a few questions here. I wanted to talk a little bit about leadership. In leadership from the perspective of what makes a good leader. Who do you consider to be a leader in your life? Whether they are alive right now or maybe somebody that's deceased. Who is it? Who's a leader? What do you think of, or who do you think of when you talk about leadership? And so that's something that I wanted to share and just get into a quick discussion. So for this one, please, if you have any thoughts, please feel free to add those to your comments, and we can go ahead and let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. When we think about leadership, I think of so many different areas of leadership because there are many different types of leadership, and that when we think of it, who in our lives, and do you consider yourself? And then many times in our lives that initially we may not consider ourselves a leader, or you may say, well, I'm not a manager. I don't manage people at work, so I'm not a leader. Let's talk about that, because I think by the time we're done with our discussion today, you may have a different idea of yourself as it relates to leadership. So let's go ahead and do that. I am going to ask you some questions, and then you tell me who are you thinking? I'll give you my response, and then you can go ahead and share your thoughts. So first of all, who would you say in your life right now, currently, as you're thinking about it, and this person can be someone that's alive or someone that's actually deceased, but who are the three most admired leaders in your life? Who would you say? Who are the three most admired leaders in your life? And so I'll give you a moment to think about that, and if you can add your response in the chat, I'll also wait for a few folks who may want to join. But who are some leaders? I can tell you who I consider to be leaders for me in my life. And when I think of that, one that really comes to mind so quickly is my grandmother. My grandmother, she was a leader. Her name was Mildred Davis. And to me, she was the ultimate leader because she had the ability to inspire others. She really had that ability to make, that kind of mother that makes do with what she has and really resourceful. And that's what I think of when I think of leadership, someone who's resourceful, someone who understands that I have people who I'm leading, who are watching me, who are depending on me. And so I need to make some choices, and then you need to make some decisions here that's going to help the people around me. And so I think definitely my grandmother comes to mind. And then another person that comes to mind for me, I tell you, is also Oprah Winfrey. I must admit, I've been watching Oprah for a long time, and even though I grew up in the Bahamas, we watched her on TV, and I think that ability to communicate, that ability to you taking someone who may have a thought about something, and you're able to really help them share their story. You're able to help them, you're able to advocate for them. And that's what I think of leadership. I think a leader is an advocator. They advocate for you. They speak on your behalf, or they're able to understand or empathize with what you're going through or what you're trying to get to, and they're able to support you in that. And so for the many times of people being talking to Oprah, being on her show at the time, and she's able to listen to what they have to say and help them share their story, help them be seen. And I admired that about her and her ability to do that as a leader. Another leader that I can think of, I think when it comes up to there is oh gosh, the name just slipped my mind, but I'll tell you what the traits about him that I really like. And you guys, if you think of the name, you put it in chat for me. And so, hi Natasha, please, the leader of Delta Airlines. I can't remember his name. I should know his name because I love Delta. But just the ability to, again, be empathetic and to guide people through a really tough time. Like when the pandemic hit, it was a really tough time for a lot of people. And Delta had to really let go of some people because of the pandemic and because of the hit that the transportation industry took during the pandemic. But the way he was able to lead people, and to the point that I was on LinkedIn and just listening to people talk about their time at Delta, talk about the experience, like it really was done with such dignity and respect and just empathetic and just really being able to again share people's stories. And so I really think about that as a trait when I listen to it. Ed Bastin, thank you. Thank you so much, Natalia. Yes, exactly. I mean, I just really enjoyed seeing him operate during such a tough time, and that's what I think of when I think of leaders. So I was definitely inspired by that. And let's see in the chat here. So I see, yeah, Dr. Miles Monroe being a leader. Yes, I agree. A great leader. Honestly, till this day, you guys, I still listen to listening to one this week. I still listen to a lot of his videos. They're so inspirational, especially, I mean, he really, but just a lot of work about leadership. Yeah, I agree 100%. Dr. Miles Monroe, fantastic expression of leadership. Anyone else? Oh, okay. So I think our Instagram crew here. You're not hearing me. Let's see. And honestly, and I'm sorry, I wouldn't even know the first thing about helping them do that. So if you can see me, hello. And I'm not sure how to make that happen. So we'll catch Instagram up next time. So. Let's continue going here then. So who else? So I see Dr. Miles Monroe. I just think those people in our lives who are really had a great impact on why we do what we do, why we believe what we believe. Just where we are today. These are people we feel who are instrumental in getting us to where we are. Just framing our thought process, framing who we are today. Okay, let's go to another question here. Again, we're talking about leadership. We're going to be answering these 5 questions. So the second question, and I think I answered it as I was talking about the first question. The second one was, what is it about them that makes them the most admired, in your life? And again, I just go back to that ability to inspire, that ability to empathize, their ability to communicate clearly, their ability to really see people, to see others. And one of the major areas, somebody added Nelson Mandela. I have 100% agree with that. A fantastic leader. And so let's talk about it. What is it about Dr. Miles Monroe? What is it about Nelson Mandela? What is it about Martin Luther? What are some of the reasons why you consider them to be leaders? Yeah, just pop it in the chat when you're ready. Just so that whole idea of leadership, and I'm hoping that as we're going through this, that you get to see some of yourself and you realize, I inspire people. I inspire my family, my children, the people around me, my relatives. I inspire my friends. Yeah, I clearly communicate, or some people may call you and ask for advice, and that's one of the things, the areas why I even think about, even with, of course, with Ed Bastian and with Oprah Winfrey, I can't really readily call them up and ask them for advice, as much as I would love to do that, but they are people who through sharing of themselves, they've been able to offer advice in a second degree kind of way, and so you get to learn a lot. And that, okay, leading by example. And yes, in talking about Dr. Miles Monroe, definitely leading by example is the words that they speak align to what they were telling you to do. And so that ability to lead by example shows up to be really impactful, because it's so wonderful when a leader does that, because then you're not trying to filter every word they say and like, do I really believe that? But when your actions line up with your words, then it's so much easier to believe and trust what that person is saying. So if they say something, if they offer a piece of advice, then it's easier to take that advice, because you know that person has integrity. And I think that's, when we get into it, that will definitely show up as one of the traits of a leader, is that integrity. You say what you're going to do, and then you do it. And if you can't do it, something happens, you clearly communicate that. And you do that with empathy, because communication really becomes a form of empathy, because you realize that I have a need for information, I don't know something, and now through compassion and empathy, you're explaining and providing the information that's needed. So it's similar with feedback. I always say feedback is a gift. And so as a leader, the leaders who provide constructive, open, honest feedback to you, many times that we look at that person as a leader, because they are giving you something that you need. And I think that's one of the wonderful again, traits of a leader, that they're able to see, they're able to give you what you need, and you do that very much so a lot of times as parents. We get to do that. So yes, it's definitely when your private life matches your public life, that alignment is so important as we think about leaders. All right. And to this, just on that same point, when it doesn't align with your life, then you really start to figure out, yeah, do they really believe that? Are they really a leader? So what tells us then, there is an aspect of leadership that has that component of from the heart. I am this, and therefore I speak it. Therefore I give advice. Therefore I lead my company, my team. And if you don't believe it, and if you don't have those leadership traits in your heart, then people are not going to believe it. It's not considered then inspirational, because it's not coming from a place of sincerity. It's not coming from a place of, it's just coming from head knowledge. It's not coming from the heart knowledge. And I think that's the area of leadership that becomes that differentiating factor. The leaders that we have, and everybody that listed others here, all of them have an alignment, that their lives aligned with the words they were saying. And so in our minds, our brain processes that as, that's leadership. So I see here Nelson Mandela showed heroism through his selfless and dedicated acts. Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely, that alignment becomes a part of leadership. All right, let's move on to our third question here, which is, so what are the traits of the leader? And so, yes, and so we can just, of leaders in general. So what are some traits that you're expecting a leader to be in general? So in general, at least for me, again, I'm expecting a leader. I think a leader has traits of definitely compassion. I feel that they're bold because they speak up. Now, bold is not, they're loud, they're boisterous, you see them before you hear them. That does not, I'm sorry, you hear them before you see them. And some people, you see them first too. But that idea of boldly speaking up out of a compassion, again, of empathy, that if I don't speak up, who will? Or they're showing you how to speak up. They're showing by example. So to me, some traits are that by example, that they have the ability to, they have that integrity, that the things that a leader may ask you to do, like they do it, but they do it they're doing it from the perspective of, hey, I see a vision here of the things that we have to accomplish. And everybody has a role. I'm not going to try to take over your role. I'm not going to try to micromanage you. I'm going to show you how to do it, right? Or at least send you to school to learn how to do it. I'm going to make sure you have the ability to do it. And then I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to give you the space to do it. And that's the part of leadership that's so important. Those traits of the ability to know when to engage and to know when to let go. Knowing how to let someone else, because leaders grow others. And they're growing themselves. And I think a trait of a leader too is knowing that, hey, I don't know everything. And I think that's a great part of leadership. But they're also growing others, so they know how to do that and when to step away. And that's why I really think that parents, any type of guardian, is a leader just in itself, because you have to know when to coddle the child, to give them love and hugs and kisses and all that fun stuff, and when to say no. Imagine if we just said yes to everything a child because they're cute, because you give them all the candy they want and they'll take it too. But then now you're dealing with stomach aches, now you're dealing with tooth decay, all these different things. So knowing the person, how far to go, and when to let go. So I see here selfless, yes, from a leader, a trait, being selfless. And really, yeah, having respect, giving, and the ability to receive that respect. So I think there are so many aspects of a leader if we think about it. And I think if you even really consider, hey, who's your closest caregiver? Who's the person you're most fond of that cared for you throughout your life? Any moment of your life that you feel most cared for. And if you think about what that person did to make you feel most cared for, I guarantee you have some traits of a leader right there. Guarantee it. All right, let's move to the fourth question here. And so glad you guys are joining in. So the fourth question here, well, do you consider yourself to be a leader? Do you consider yourself to be a leader? Well, I have to say for me, not always. Like I grew into this position of the mindset position of leadership. One being, of course, early on, especially early career, many years ago, early career, you had a thought. There was an idea of, oh yeah, well, the manager is the leader, the director, the supervisor, the VP of the company, the C-suite. Those are the leaders. But then the more and more I grew, it's like, no, they're in a leadership position in that company, but just because they have a title doesn't equate to leader. So, and some of the traits that we just talked about are more so with the leaders. So, do I consider myself a leader today? Heck yeah. And you know, the thing about leadership is, you know, we aren't born as leaders. You know, we're born with that ability, but leadership is a trait. It's a skill that you learn. You learn. Empathy is a skill that you learn. So for those of you who say, you know what, yeah, I don't have that much empathy, that's okay. Because there's a thing called emotional intelligence, And you can learn the skill of empathy. It's a skill to train yourself how to consider others, how to identify the feelings within yourself and being self-aware, and then how to identify those feelings within others, and then being able to respond, then being able to leverage those emotions to lead others. And that's emotional intelligence right there. So leadership, if you don't consider yourself a leader, hopefully today you'll walk away saying, well, yeah. And if you feel that you need to little improvement here, there are programs to help you do that. Okay, and actually, I offer emotional intelligence assessment. Give me a call. We can do an assessment. We'll figure out exactly what's missing and get you where you need to be. But that ability to inspire others, to communicate, to be self-aware, self-control, to have flexibility, all of those are leadership traits. And so knowing when to do it, when not to do it, how to communicate, regulate yourself. And it's not about somebody do something so you're quick there to respond. And that's a leader. I'm showing nobody gonna boss me around. Yeah, no, that's not exactly that's not exactly the traits of a leader. So that's something else, but I don't know if I'll call it leadership. So let's see here. So somebody said sometimes, sometimes you feel that way, that you may not you may not respond the way you felt you should have responded from a viewpoint of a leader. But sometimes I would just want to point out here that leadership is our response to something does not change who we are. So once you identify yourself as a leader, if there are situations that you didn't totally get it right, that does not cross out or negate you being a leader. Okay? So yeah, so sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I wish we was all live. We could just talking, we could talk to each other. I'm like, let's talk about that. Okay, so good. So let's get to the next question here. This was supposed to be a quick live, and here we are, still talking. Let's do one more question here, which is the last question, number 5. So describe your leadership style. What is your leadership style? How do you lead? What would you say is your leadership style? How do you lead others? What style of leadership do you have? And some people say, well, what are the choices? Well, there are many leadership styles, and that we can take on. So one leadership style being that you're, some people have a leadership style of being aggressive, or some people lead by fear. Oh, you better do this. Some people are just total delegators, like everything is delegated. But what is the principle that's behind how you engage others when you have to lead them? When you're showing others something that they need to feel, think, or do, and you want to influence that. Let's say you're leading a project team and you have a goal in mind. What position or principle, what value do you have, or values in your mind, the things that you value in your heart that you want to represent as you're engaging with that team? Okay, so somebody asked, so what if you want to become a leader, but do not know how? So yeah, well, that's one of those, that's like an offline conversation. But yeah, if you want to become a leader, listen, first of all, know that you are a leader, that leaders is you're not born into leadership, or some people are leaders. I'm a natural born leader. You hear people say that. No. And it's usually the one natural born leader. No, it's if you're in the ability to inspire or to persuade others, to communicate, to connect with others, those are leadership traits. And so all of us have that ability to do that. It's about understanding your audience, understanding what they need, and then going ahead and seeing how can you fulfill that need. Sometimes somebody may need something and they may ask you for it, so you just automatically give. Or sometimes you may have to teach someone to do something. So a leader is one of those people who you inspire others to do something, to grow. There's a goal in mind. You're trying to get somewhere, and you're inspiring them to accomplish that goal. You're showing them how, either by providing the resources, providing the encouragement, creating the environment where they're able to thrive. And so those are, you're feeding their mind, you're feeding their heart, you're looking at what is it that we need in order to move to our goal. And you're leading them along that way, because to identify yourself as a leader, I think you need to think about, is anybody following me? And if there's nobody following you, and nobody calling you up and asking your opinion, your advice, then let's talk about that, because leaders have followers. And what I'm saying here is, many times, in terms of we all have someone who's following us, somebody who's looking at us, looking up to us. And if anybody you have in your life that's actually looking up to you, then you let's go ahead and claim that you're a leader. You have somebody that's looking up to you, following you, looking to you for direction, looking to you for help, looking to you for guidance. And that means in that position, you are a leader. And so now, how do you do it more effectively? And so again, we have lots of resources to help you with that. And so you have my email address, my contact information. Please send me a message on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Reach out and let me know, what are your thoughts here as you answer these questions. If you do a playback and you answer the questions, just let me know what are your thoughts there, and how does the term leader resonate with you? And if it doesn't, let's talk. If it does, let's talk. Either way, let's talk, because we're talking about leadership. All right. Any other thoughts here? I was trying to make this short, but we'll be at we have a few more minutes to get to 30 minutes. And so, any more thoughts before we jump off this call here? But I do want to hear. I didn't get a response about your leadership style. How do you lead? I tell you, when I think about my leadership style, I like to inspire. I feel I am an inspirational leader, a transformational leader. So my leadership style, I lead by a lot by example, but sharing. I love to share. I'm an educator at heart. My doctorate is in education, so educator to me is not just limited to the classroom. I take every opportunity to share examples about my life. And so whether I try to be transparent with my life so others can see, so if I've done something, I lead by sharing what I've done, whether it's good or bad, and making sure that, we have the right way to do something, understanding where we are, understanding maybe the best practice of doing something, and being able to share my knowledge, but also share my experience. And so I spent a lot of time doing that. All right, so let's see here. Yes, thank you so much. You are very much so welcome. All right, so leadership styles. I didn't get some responses there, but I want to hear about your leadership styles. So please go ahead and send me an email or just send me a message via social media. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me again. We were talking about 5 questions about leadership. Take care. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.